Well, here we are, and it is the final spring training video for the Toronto Blue Jays. This is the last week of spring training. A week today will be the first game of the regular season against the Detroit Tigers at Rogers Center. Now, before we talk about all that stuff, let's break down these week's games. Now, we go back to the Friday afternoon against the Philadelphia Phillies. Jays lose 3-2. Saturday, you got a doubleheader. You lose both. You lose 17-7 and then 4-3. Okay, not so great there. Then you beat Minnesota 9-8 on Sunday. Monday, you beat Detroit 3-2. Tuesday against the Red Sox gets canceled. You lose 8-7 to the Atlanta Braves. And then you get crushed today 13-6 against the Philadelphia Phillies. Don't start looking into it, people, because it's spring training and it doesn't mean anything. Now that things are starting to take form and cuts are starting to be made, you can kind of get a glimpse of what the roster is going to become. Now, the bullpen, I think, is going to be the biggest question mark now, because we've heard now that John Axford and Ryan Tepera will not be starting the year with the team because of injury. It looks like Tepera's isn't as bad, and it looks like they're going to be looking to John Axford the next 4 weeks, so he's going to be out a little while now. And another guy that was going to be going for a spot in the pen, or a guy who could be in the rotation, Bud Norris, he leaves the game. He was supposed to pitch today in the 8th inning, didn't, and he was supposed to pitch tomorrow. It doesn't look like he will. So that's 3 guys that, at least 2 of them, Tepera and Axford, were going to make the team. And obviously with the injuries now, they are not. So as we know from Raptors, we know all that stuff, the next man up is always the philosophy. Now, we heard Joe Biagini, Tim Meza are guys that are making the team out of camp. We knew that was happening. Charlie Montoyo came out and said this was happening. But what's the rest of the bullpen going to look like other than those 2 and Ken Giles? Well, David Paulino is a guy that I didn't think was going to make the team right away because he didn't play a lot last year. But with the injuries, I think that he's going to get a spot in there. If you guys still do not know who David Paulino is, he was one of the pieces acquired in the Roberto Osuna trade last year with Giles and Hector Perez, who got sent down to the minor league camp. And obviously, Rule 5 draft pick Elvis Luciano is going to be on the team. Did not have a very good spring, but it doesn't really mean anything. The youngster is going to get a chance at the big league level, probably. And it looks like Sam Gaviglio is probably going to be in long relief. So there's a lot of question marks, right? Guys like Thomas Pannone, Jason Adams, the Jays just picked him up, I think it was from Kansas City. And Trent Thornton are other names that, with these injuries that have occurred, could possibly slide into a bullpen spot. A guy like Trent Thornton, acquired for, in the Aledmus Diaz deal this offseason. If I'm a Jays fan, I want to see this guy pitch. I really want to have a look at Trent Thornton and see what he's all about. What will occur? I mean, I'm not too sure, right? And in the last week's video, we talked about Bo Bichette and Kevin Biggio, and will Bo Bichette make the team out of camp because he's having a stupidly good spring? Well, the answer is no. And I think it was expected, but with the play, there was that little bit of maybe. But no, him and Kevin Biggio get sent down to the minor league camp. So Biggio, Bichette, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will be starting the year. I'm assuming all 3 of them will be starting with the AAA Buffalo Bisons this year. You look at the starting rotation, we know what Aaron Sanchez and Marcus Stroman are all about. And I think Matt Shoemaker, Ryan Baracki, and I think Clayton Richard rounds out the rotation for right now. I mean, Clay Buchholz, when he comes into the fold for the Toronto Blue Jays, could be a guy that's going to make that 5-man rotation, depending on if guys struggle or not. But again, that's what we know for sure, right? And there's a lot of question marks going into the year, and I'm going to get more into that in the season preview next week. But from a spring training, if you want to say who turned heads, who looked really, really strong, I look at 2 guys, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Teoscar Hernandez. Now, Teoscar Hernandez, we all know what happened last year with the strikeout total being through the roof. If you didn't hear the podcast that Evan and I recorded earlier today, the link is in the description for that, guys. And we talked about that. We talked about Teoscar Hernandez and this being a year that he can really break out and show what he's all about. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is a guy that We saw what he did last year. He got injured for quite a significant amount of time there. He did come back near the end of the year, had a little bit of another injury. They shut him down for the year, and that was the end of that. He's had a great spring. He's at about 350. He's looking good. Defensively, he's looking solid. I can't wait to watch him play. Now, there's a lot of other guys we can talk about. Like Marcus Stroman had a great spring. Aaron Sanchez, except for the last start, I thought he was really, really good in the spring. Joe Biagini, I think, is going to have a great year out of the bullpen. Just my personal opinion on that. I think he went 5 or 6 scoreless innings this spring. Great to see there. Now, there's really not a whole lot to discuss right now because I think now that we're just a week away from the season getting going, we just kind of want to see what the roster lines up as come opening day, and then we'll talk about it. You know, that video, guys, by the way, so let me just break this down here real quick here. The schedule for the Jays, they do not play next Wednesday. So the day before the season commences on the 28th of March, I'm going to be doing a video, basically a season preview about the Toronto Blue Jays, because we'll know the roster, we'll know what it's all about, we'll say expectations, we'll do all that crazy stuff in that video next Wednesday, March 27th. So guys, if you want to keep an eye out for that, that'll be going on Wednesday, okay? But as for the spring training, as we said, it's done. And there were guys that impressed me. There were also guys that didn't look very good. I thought Sean Reid-Foley was going to have a good camp just because he had a little bit of big league time last year. He put great AAA numbers up last year. He didn't have a great spring. He had a 5-something ERA or a 6-something ERA. Not very good. But then there's guys that you don't expect to do good, but you saw some really good things. You know, I mean, it happens. That's what spring training's all about. But in the end, you look at options and you look at all that crazy stuff. Speaking of options, Dalton Pompey, and I talked about him in each week, I think it was, we've done these videos, and I thought he was a guy that could possibly make the team out of camp. I really believe so. And he had an injury today. I think he hit his head on a rack or something, and I'm like, a bat rack, and I'm like, what? I mean, I feel so I don't know what he was doing, but I feel so bad for this guy. He has concussion issues, and he looks like he's about to come into his first season with the Jays. At least that's what I was hoping for because he was out of options. But now he goes down with this injury. I mean, he'll probably clear waivers now. Man, I just feel bad for him. Now, some things you want to look at, guys, as some positives moving forward. And it's nothing really crazy, you know. Spring training is coming to an end. There's less than a week to go. By next Tuesday, or I guess this upcoming Tuesday, spring training is done. Now, I'm looking all here at the transactions for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, what that means is that they're bringing up the I guess the guys just to fill in the roster spots for the end of spring training. Reason I'm saying that is because you got guys like Anthony Alford, Reese McGuire, you know, Biggio, all those guys getting sent down to the minor league camp. So you got to bring some guys up to see what they can do. Give them a little bit of a taste of it. Well, I'm seeing here, Chad Spanberger was brought up to the Blue Jays. Don't remember that name? He was acquired in the Sungwon Oh deal with Forrest Wall last year. So he's a guy that the Jays are maybe going to see a little bit here. What else we got here? Samad Taylor, acquired in the Joe Smith trade a couple years ago. Anybody else here that jumps out at me too? And a lot, maybe? No. But those two names for sure really jump out at me. And, again, we're going to see more things being... Cal Stevenson, I think he was like a 4th-round pick a couple years ago. You know, you're going to see some guys come up here that you don't expect to see, right? That you've seen in the prospect pool, but you don't know what they're all about. You haven't seen them in the spring at all, and you're going to get to see a little bit of a taste of them. And it's going to be a really exciting year for Jays fans. And listen to me, guys, okay? The last thing I'm going to say, a little heart-to-heart here. This is going to be a shorter one because we're all kind of done emotionally with spring training. Do not expect this team to be a great team this year, okay? I'm going to make these videos. It's going to be tough at times. But almost in each and every video, I'm going to try and take positives out of the games. The Jays lose 5-0. Well, Teoscar Hernandez went 2 for 3. Great to see there. Great to see him to swing the bat well. Going to try and find things like that. Look, guys, you can't start getting angry at these guys. Oh, they're terrible. This team is garbage. Blah. Well, yeah, they are. You expect it. With a bunch of young guys on the roster, you can't expect these guys to be contending for a playoff spot. Now, if come July, August, and September, they're in the hunt for the wild card spot, then yeah, we can get angry at a loss here and there. But don't expect it. For the last, 4 years, 15, 16, and even 17 and 18, we all had hopes. And in 15, we didn't have hopes going into the season. Well, we tried to at least. And then by the deadline, we're like, we need this. 16, you already had the taste of the postseason, so you expected to get back with mostly the same roster. And you did. 17, well, we were trying to hang on for dear life to those hopes. And people didn't stay healthy, people didn't have consistent years, and it just didn't go well. And in 18, we're like, well, if this team stays healthy and they stay consistent and all that, they might get a wild card spot. You don't have that now. As Evan and I put it on the podcast every single week, the process the Jays are going through, are they going to win a lot of games? No. And it's going to be hard to watch that. But you know what it is going to be? Fun. Because you get to see the future. We get to watch more of Lourdes Gurriel Jr. You get to watch more of Billy McKinney, Teoscar Hernandez, even Stroman Sanchez and Ryan Baracki. And as the season progresses, you'll most likely see Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette coming up. And it's going to be exciting to watch those guys. This year, I want you Blue Jays fans, I will be doing it as well, to kind of keep your nose out of the standings. Because it won't matter. You watch your players, you watch our guys grow. And that's what we got to do this year. If you guys want to do what I did last year, it kept me sane. Keep an eye on the prospect pool. Go on the top 30 Blue Jays prospects and keep an eye on them from a game-to-game basis. That's what I did. And it was fun going on there and seeing, Eric Pardinho throw 5 shutout innings. It's just money. He's coming out with elbow soreness right now. It's small, so it's not bad, thank goodness. But, seeing him throw a great game or seeing guys like Logan Warmoth, former Jays first-round pick, go 3 for 4 with a good game, it's nice to see, right? And then you watch the actual Blue Jays, their younger players, tear it up and do a good job. It's nice. We got this, Jays fans. We'll get through it. It's a process. I'm not going to use trust the process because, no. All right, so you know what, guys? That is going to do it for this one. If you guys enjoyed this video and you guys are excited to watch baseball again, let's put it that way, hit that like button. I do appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button if you guys have not already. Comment down below. What'd you think of the video? What are your thoughts towards the upcoming season? Any players you are extremely excited to watch, except for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, because I think we're all jacked up to watch them play. Anybody that you're extremely excited, are you really excited to see Ryan Baracki in a full year? Teoscar Hernandez, are you excited to see if he's kind of rebounded and can put these spring training success into the regular season? Are you excited to see more of Lourdes Gurriel Jr.? Other guys that are in the minors that you think, I think this guy's going to come up and make a big impact. Let me know in the comments below, guys. Go nuts, because this season is going to be a grind. But if you guys are there for me, we'll have a good time, all right? So thank you guys so much for listening. Evan and I will talk to you guys podcast edition sometime next week, probably Thursday afternoon. Link is in the description for the podcast channel, guys, and for the podcast itself on iTunes. Twitter is also down below. Follow up, send me a DM, do all that great stuff, and I will talk to you guys, what it'll be, Raptors edition. All right, tomorrow, let's do Leafs edition Saturday night as they come home to take on the New York Rangers. Excuse me, looking to continue that success as they had against the Buffalo Sabres yesterday into that game against the New York Rangers, all right? And as for the Raptors, guys, like we've talked about many times before, they got a home and home against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Game 2 of that home and home tomorrow night at 7:30 at Scotiabank Arena. No Kyle Lowry again for the Toronto Raptors, but I'm not worried because, for one, we beat them in OKC, and number 2, it doesn't really matter. You want them healthy for the playoffs. That's what matters, all right? And as for the Toronto Blue Jays, guys, we'll talk to you guys next Wednesday. 6 days from right now, and we will be talking to you guys, or I guess I'll be talking to you guys, for the season preview for the 2019 Toronto Blue Jays season. And then Thursday, the next day, the season kicks off at 3:37 at Rogers Center between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Detroit Tigers. All right, so thank you guys so much for listening and watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you guys then.